Okay, let's talk about silver, because something really strange is going on. Yeah, the price is going nuts, but the story behind the curtain is way more complex. We're going to dive into a theory that says this isn't just random market noise. It might actually be a full-blown battle for control.
So it all kicks off with this really frustrating question that people all over the world are suddenly asking. Hey, why did my credit card just get declined trying to buy gold or silver? I mean, these transactions are getting blocked left and right, and the official explanations, they're kind of vague. Let's break down the two stories we're hearing.
On one hand, you've got the banks saying, oh, don't worry, it's just routine fraud protection. But the source material we're looking at, it's making a much bolder claim. It's saying, note, this is deliberate. It's capital control, plain and simple. They're trying to stop you from moving your money into hard assets. So, what's the real story here?
All right, so could this all just be a big computer glitch? Let's actually look at the evidence. The thing is, according to the source, we're not talking about a few random errors here and there. It looks a lot more like a coordinated pattern, and it's happening at some of the biggest banks out there.
And this is where it gets really specific. I mean, we're not dealing with rumors here. The source points to Chase, who apparently updated their internal fraud rules to just automatically decline jewelry or precious metal purchases over $500. Then you have Wells Fargo, supposedly blocking all bullion purchases, no matter the amount, and Bank of America. They're reportedly targeting the very merchant codes, the MCCs, for both precious metals and crypto. This starts to look a whole lot less like a glitch and a lot more like a deliberate policy, doesn't it?
Okay, so if it's not a glitch, then what in the world is going on? Well, this brings us right to the heart of the theory. The idea that the big banks are caught, absolutely trapped, in a massive silver short squeeze.
Now, just in case you need a quick refresher, a short squeeze is basically when the tables get turned on the big Wall Street players. You see, these huge institutions bet that an asset's price is going to fall, but what happens if the price starts going up instead? Well, they're forced to buy back the asset to stop their losses from getting even bigger, and that buying action just pushes the price even higher. It's a total nightmare scenario for them.
And the perfect way to think about this is, remember the whole GameStop saga. You had this massive online community of regular investors who all worked together to pump up the stock price, and it absolutely crushed the hedge funds that were betting against it. Well, the source we're looking at claims that's exactly what's happening right now. But instead of a video game stock, we're talking about a global commodity. We're talking about silver.
So here's the absolute crux of it. The theory goes that these major banks have these massive short positions, basically huge bets that the price of silver was going to tank. But as more and more people started buying physical silver, the price started climbing. And now these banks are bleeding money. So what do? The theory says they try to block the exits. They try to stop us from buying any more.
I know it sounds like a pretty wild theory, but the source material claims there's a money trail, a data trail that backs this all up. And it starts with the movement of, well, trillions of dollars.
Okay, now look at this chart, because this is where things get really interesting. What you're seeing here is the amount of cash that was parked in the Fed's reverse repo facility. Think of it as a temporary parking spot where banks stick their extra cash. At its peak, you had $2.5 trillion sitting in there. And now it's plummeted. We're talking less than $90 billion. A huge amount of cash has just vanished from the system.
Yeah, let's just put a number on that. We're talking about roughly $2.4 trillion that is no longer sitting inside the traditional banking system. So the billion-dollar question, or I guess the trillion-dollar question, is where did all that money go? Well, the source lays out a pretty clear trail. This money didn't just pour back into stocks or bonds. The argument is that it's flooding into hard assets, things you can actually touch and hold. We're talking about people taking their digital dollars and turning them into physical gold, physical silver, even Bitcoin. And when that happens, it's like a direct drain on the cash reserves of the banks, which, well, it gives them a very powerful reason to try and lock the doors.
So if you're a bank and you're trapped and losing a ton of money, what do? How do you fight back? According to this theory, you don't just sit there and block a few credit cards. No, you go on the offensive. You use the very tools of the financial system as weapons against regular investors.
And the source makes a compelling point. This is not a new playbook. I mean, think about it. Back in 1933, the U.S. government literally confiscated gold from its citizens. Then in 1971, Nixon completely cut the dollar's ties to gold. The theory today is that the method of control is just sneakier. It's not some big government announcement. It's a quiet little algorithm in a bank's computer system that just says, declined.
And here it is, the supposed weapon of choice, a margin hike. The CME Group, the folks who run the futures market, all of a sudden hiked the amount of cash you need to hold a silver futures contract by a whopping 77%. Why would they do that? Well, the goal is pretty clear. Force the smaller traders, the ones who can't just pull thousands of extra dollars out of thin air, to sell their positions. And all that forced selling causes a massive, artificial crash in the paper price of silver, which just decimates the little guy.
But, and this is a huge but, this is where the story takes a fascinating twist. See, that kind of attack only works on the paper price of silver. In the real world, where people are trying to get their hands on actual physical bars and coins, oh, a very, very different story is unfolding.
This really gets to the heart of it. The price you see on your computer screen is not what you're actually paying. There's this massive disconnect growing. The source points out that while the paper price on an exchange like COMEX might say, $117 an ounce, people in Japan are paying $130. In Kuwait, it's supposedly as high as $160. The screen price is starting to look like a complete work of fiction.
So why is this happening? Simple. Unlike a piece of paper, physical silver is absolutely essential for modern industry. It's in everything. Solar panels, all our electronics, electric cars. Companies like Tesla need tons of it. You've got countries like China calling it a strategic metal and buying it up like crazy. This industrial demand is real, it's relentless, and it's not going anywhere.
And if you want a number that really puts this into perspective, get this. In a single week, over 33 million ounces of actual physical silver were taken out of the COMEX vaults. The warehouses are being drained, and it's happening fast.
So what happens? What happens when the price you see on TV has absolutely nothing to do with the price you pay in the real world? The source has a great name for it, the Great Market Divorce. It's this fundamental split in what silver even means anymore.
And this really is the bottom line of the whole theory. That paper price, the one you see on the news, the one that can be pushed around with margin hikes, it's a deception. It's not real. It has detached from the true value of the physical metal.
And this right here just lays it all out perfectly. On one side, you have paper silver. It's just a financial contract, a promise. You can create an almost unlimited supply of it. On the other side, you have physical silver, a real, tangible metal that has to be mined out of the ground. It's finite, and its price is driven by actual supply and demand. The argument is that these two things, they just can't pretend to be the same anymore. Something's got to give.
Which leaves us with a really big question to chew on, doesn't it? In a world that's getting more and more digital, with digital money and financial contracts, what's the future of real wealth? What does it even mean to own something you can hold in your hand? This whole story, whether you think it's just a glitch or part of some grand design, it really forces all of us to think hard about what money and value actually are.